So everyone and their grandmothers are talking about Omarchy as like the hottest thing right now, so I figured I have to at least give it a shot. But within a few minutes of just going through the website and really just reading the headline, I knew it wasn't for me. You see, Omarchy is marketed as an Arch-based distro that is beautiful, modern, and opinionated. Now, I have no issue whatsoever with beautiful and modern. However, opinionated, that's where I have an issue. For me, Linux is about choice and having the flexibility to use your system however you want. So if something is opinionated, that means that I lose that flexibility because now there's this thing that is meant to be used one specific way, and that just didn't sit very well with me. You see, back when I decided to get serious about using Linux, I wiped Windows and installed Elementary OS. Now, the reason why I went with Elementary OS was because, let's face it, it's just beautiful. But within that first day of using Elementary OS, I realized that there was a bunch of stuff that it came with that I just didn't need, and so I started uninstalling stuff and also modifying my systems to fit my needs. But I did it so much that it got to a point where I realized it would be just a lot easier just starting from scratch. So that very first day of using Elementary OS, I went to Arch because it made the most sense, and then I've just never looked back since then. So yeah, that would have been my end of my Omarchy experience if I hadn't read the manual first. You see, the first sentence of the manual mentions that Omarchy is an Omakase distribution, which is Japanese for I'll leave it up to you. Additionally, the manual also mentions that Omarchy is not meant to limit you in any way for your own opinions, but rather it's just meant to give you a good user experience out of the box. And you see, that's when Omarchy actually made sense to me. You see, it's not opinionated in the sense where you can't make your own opinions and your own choices as you go, but rather it's opinionated that it gives you a good enough user experience out of the box, so much so that even if you don't know how to use Linux, this could be a really good starting point for you. And that last point is actually what excites me the most about Omarchy, because I often like to recommend users tools that are CLI based and keyboard centric, because I feel that those are the most productive kind of tools that you can use. But I also know that sometimes these tools can be a little daunting to the users, not just because you have to learn how to use them, but also because often these tools are configured using text-based configurations, which can be a little much sometimes. But with something like Omarchy, which comes with a lot of keyboard-centric applications, but it configures them for you, then this kind of makes a lot of sense. And I'm 100% behind something that gets these tools into the hands of other people because it makes it easier. So with that in mind, let's go over Omarchy a little bit. So this is a brand new installation of Omarchy. I haven't done much. Actually, I haven't done anything to it because I want to see what it's like using it with the defaults it has. And I've been kind of messing with this a little bit and kind of I'm nitpicking here, but kind of one of the things that I noticed is the keyboard shortcuts are kind of unintuitive if you're coming from Linux already, but they do make sense if you're coming from other operating systems like Windows or Mac OS. So I think that's kind of the intended crowd for the way things are kind of set up. For example, on Linux, it's very common to use Mod D to open up your application launcher. I think that comes from like Rofi or dmenu from way back in the day. And so dmenu starts with D, so Mod D makes sense. However, on here, it is actually mod space. Yeah, so mod space gives you your launcher for your applications, which is not horrible. I believe that's the same thing for Mac. It's you do command space to open up your application launcher. So that makes sense to me, I guess, from that perspective. But it is kind of weird because you kind of have to do this finger crossing thing, especially on my keyboard. On my keyboard, it's really weird. I'm doing like some finger contortioning just to kind of hit that. Unless I hit it like this, which is, I guess, fine, but it's just, I don't like that. This is, like, these are my thumb keys over here, so this is weird. So that's why it's a little weird for me. But again, nitpicking. Another nitpick real quick is if I open something like the terminal that's just mod space, so sorry, mod enter, I'm used to that. That's the way I have my thing set up. But if I want to full screen this application, kind of the go-to for me, and I think for a lot of people, is mod F, because, you know, full screen, F for full screen. So if I do mod F here, it doesn't, oh, it does the file manager, right? So mod F is file manager, which is not really what I want. I want to full screen this. So that's a little weird to me. I will say though that F and files makes sense, but still that's not what I'm used to, and probably not what a lot of people are used to as well. To do it, actually there is, you could do mod K, that shows you all of the keyboard shortcuts, and that's really nice. So full screen, so here it is. Full screen is Shift F11. Okay, so for me on my keyboard, that's 3 different keys, or 4 different keys I have to hit, and that's with two different hands. So that's a little weird. So that's what was it again? Alt? No, it was Shift F11. So it's I don't even know what I'm doing. Yeah. So I actually have it bound to other stuff, so you can see that I'm typing other stuff as I go. But that's the way it is. It's just cumbersome. Like, you might as well just put everything in one hand. I think that makes the most sense to me. If everything is on one hand for like your things that you do very often, like full screening, that should be like mod F, not like two different hands to do some weird hand contortioning stuff to kind of just do full screen. Again, these are the things that are configurable, so it's not the end of the world, but those defaults I just don't really like that much. So yeah, other than those tiny nitpicking things, I won't go over the entire distribution because let's face it, obviously it's just a wrapper around Arch Linux. And there's nothing that I've seen that is really much different from Arch Linux. It just has an installation script that installs a bunch of things for you. Because, for example, it has things like Spotify, right? Or see, I actually meant to do mod D to do the application launcher, but mod D launches this TUI application for Docker, and so that's weird to me. So there's been a lot of moments like this while I've been playing with it, where I want to do something, but because my muscle memory is so much so on things that are kind of the way you would set things up for Linux, things are just kind of weird in my head. So this is, to close it, it's just mod W. I think that's a hyperlink thing. I'm used to mod shift Q, but that is what it is. So I was going to mention, oh, you're right, mod space. And so there's things like Spotify on here. So Spotify is pre-installed, which I don't use Spotify. But again, this is meant to give you an out-of-the-box experience that is just really good. So people that use Spotify, it's there for you. But yeah, these are things I'll never use. So the point I was getting to is that this is just Arch Linux with things installed on top of it. So there's nothing really much to go over. You just have a bunch of applications that you might or might not be familiar with. But I will mention one thing is that the installation experience, even though that there is stuff just installed on top of it, the installer is really nice. Now, this isn't something new to Arch. There's been a bunch of projects that have done installation scripts for Arch to make that easier. But I will say that the Omarchy installer is just really nice. There isn't very many options for you to mess with. It's very linear in the sense that it just does step by step, which is really nice because it just makes it easy for you to get started. So I think if you want to use Omarchy, Omarchy is set up for the type of person that just doesn't want to configure things, but you want to try a bunch of cool applications that are usually keyboard centric or very CLI based. Those are, by the way, like my favorite type of tools anyway. So for me, it makes a lot of sense. It just doesn't make sense for me to use Omarchy because at this point I have already set up my system how I like to use it, and I have my own configuration files. And so doing this where you're using somebody else's setup doesn't make too much sense to me. And so yeah, Omarchy is great for that. And if you don't want to mess with anything and you just want a system that works just starting out, and you get to use a bunch of CLI and keyboard centric applications, which are really cool, by the way, then I would recommend just trying Omarchy and giving it a shot. With that in mind, hope you liked the video. And if you like this, you might like these other videos that YouTube thinks you might like.